This podcast is a Radio Mike original production. Head to radiomike.com.au to find out more.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
Show your move. Good news, everyone. Don't you know diggy when you see onions have legs?
Welcome to 20th Century Boy. My name is Really-o apathetic, and this is the inside of my mind. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to 20th Century Boy. If you're new here, boy, I don't know how this episode's going to go. This is probably the latest I've ever left a recording, just because this has been a really busy week. I'm recording this like 3 hours before it's supposed to go up online. Don't know if I'll make the deadline this week, but we're doing okay. It's been feeling really... My name, of course, is Radio Mike. This is my podcast, 20th Century Boy. It's a weekly, like, blog, audio blog, I guess, about my life, right? One-sided conversation, and it's the conversations you wish you were having about the stuff that no one else cares about. Jump on once a week, spend an hour with me, let's hang out. Hey, this is awesome. How are ya? You can't talk back. You can write back, though, at radio.mike on Instagram. Slide into my DM, send a voicemail, radiomikepod@gmail.com, at It's Radio Mike on Twitter, whatever you want, right? This week, could be a shorter ep, could be a longer ep. Like I said, I don't know what's going to happen on this ep because I have a lot of stuff on my mind, and but then I also have not a lot of stuff on my mind. Of course, you can support this show, patreon.com/Radio Mike. Get the Pat and Mike show every week, a bonus podcast with me and producer Pat, where we just go absolutely wacky and crazy. Would love to see you on the Patreon, patreon.com/Radio Mike. Yeah, been a really busy week this week for a number of reasons, and been a busy kind of... I am feeling apathetic in the sense that, and I might get into it later, but generally, I'm just starting to feel apathetic towards everything, which is probably a bad sign. But again, I'll get onto that a bit later. This is going to be a weird episode, possibly. Deal with it, I suppose. Nah, love you all. I wanted to start with a new game. I haven't been driving recently. I don't own a car. I don't think I've driven in like 6 months. Whereas used to be a huge driver, you know? Jump in the car, drive everywhere. Now, a lot of public transport, a lot of scootering. Long-time listeners of the show will know, lots of scootering. But a lot of public transport. Here in Melbourne, we've got a decent public transport network. And I've had a lot of, if we want to go back and talk my public transport journey over the years, it's quite defined. So, used to take the tram, the old 16 tram down Glenferrie Road, home from school, home from old St. Kevin's College, right? That would go all the way to Kew. That was my, first major experience of PT here in Melbourne, for those Melburnians playing along. Send in your own tram route from school. Then... when I went from Kew, where I grew up, there was no train station. You used to have to tram into the city. You'd jump on either a 48 or a 109. Kew boys will know it. Kew kids, rather. And then going into uni, used to take the bus. Was my first experience with the bus, which is my favourite form of public transport. The bus is my favourite form of public transport because, I don't know, it's not on rails, right? It's just a big car. The bus is just a long car, right? I would always sit at the backseat bandit. That's my thing on buses. And 4 years of uni, never once saw a ticket inspector jump on the bus, right? So I used to get the 200 or the 207 bus from Kew into Parkville, where the University of Melbourne was, or RMIT as well, when I went to RMIT. And, these days, really, it's just, when I lived in Kensington, I used to get the train into the city, just 2 stops. Now I'm in Richmond, back on trams and scooters. That's my public transport journey. But because I'm not driving as much, find myself on public transport much more than usual, particularly the tram. And the tram, not a lot of places around the world have trams. I know Sydney now do have trams, probably because they're trying to copy Melbourne, the best city in Australia. I know Hiroshima in Japan actually has trams because I've been on them. I don't know what other countries have trams, but I know they're like very rare comparatively to trains and buses. And I was on a tram today. The thing about the tram in Melbourne is I feel the tram is the most reckless form of public transport, in the sense that, like, when you get on a tram, you never really know what you're going to get. You don't know who's going to be on that tram. You don't know what's going to be happening on that tram, right? Couple breaking up. 150 school kids all wearing their school bags. What else could happen on a tram? A guy throwing up. 5 ticket inspectors harassing one guy who doesn't speak English and doesn't understand why he's getting a fine. Just, you get on a tram, you're just sort of like, wow, I can't believe I've seen this today, right? All of the above have happened, by the way, in my life over the years on the tram. Couple having a physical fight, that was a scary one. Lots of crazy stuff happening on trams. Couple making out, filming TikTok, whatever. Years and years of trams, which is why I was on a tram home from work today. And, I want to play this game. What did I see on the tram? A tram, a tram, a tram. It's what did I see on the tram? Could be a one-off segment, guys, to be honest. Could be a two-off. Could be a regular weekly segment from now on. What did I see on the tram? And I'd love for you guys, write in for next week. We will do it as a two-off. Write in. What did you see on the tram? What's the weirdest thing you've seen on the tram? Let us know, right? Just write into the show. Weirdest thing you've seen on the tram, because, I'm on the tram today and saw three peculiar things that I really wanted to share with you. The first one is, so I'm on the tram, I'm sitting on one of the 4 seats, like the group of 4 seats, and a guy gets on the tram, he sits next to me. He looks like maybe a bit older than me. He's like smart business suit, but a little bit casual, and he's already on a phone call, which he's doing on his AirPods. So he's already speaking and he's on a call, and he seems to be talking to like someone that he works with or that he knows closely, and is consoling them on an issue that they're having, because I'm hearing, this conversation that's sort of along the lines of this, like, yeah, look, Harrison, if, it's clearly causing you a lot of grief. It is clearly worrying you, and that is not changing. So I think, for your own well-being and mental health, I think you should just make the call and quit. I think you should just get out of there. It's clearly not an environment that you're happy in. You've got to get out of there, right? This is just a pretty, maybe a normal call with a friend, for your own mental health, your own mental well-being, get out of there. This call goes on for 10, 15 minutes. Same kind of rhetoric throughout the entire call. Eventually it gets to a point, it's like, all right, well, let me know how you go. If you need anything, let me know. And then the call ends. All right, see you, good luck, blah, blah, blah. And he's essentially convinced this person to quit what I imagine is their job. He then, as soon as he hangs up, rings another number. Person picks up and he goes, hey, Harrison's about to call you to let you know that he's quitting. Can you please act surprised and pretend you didn't know? I promised him I wouldn't tell you anything about it, but just pretend you're surprised. But yeah, he's going to quit. Almost as though, and this was my reading of it, almost as though this guy just called the boss of whatever the company is, and maybe him and the boss have been like, oh, Harrison sucks, we have to get him out. And this guy's gone and pretended to Harrison like he's really sympathetic, like, you gotta quit, man, you gotta just get out of this job, it's not serving you, right? When really they both wanted him gone. That's the first thing I saw on the tram. What do you guys think? Second thing I saw on the tram, which caught my interest, was girl, maybe 18 to 22, right? Gets on the tram and sits opposite me. She has a FaceTime call open on her phone with another girl of similar age, and she's laughing as she gets on, she's laughing like the funniest thing ever has just happened. Then I realize, she's not wearing AirPods and there's no volume coming out of her phone. So I sit there and I think, what is she doing? What, they're laughing as if they're saying they're having the funniest conversation ever. They can't hear each other. They're just looking at each other. Is this what like modern friendship is? Like you just have your phone on mute and you look at each other while you're on the tram and just laugh? Really, really bizarre. But the third thing I saw on the tram, again, which was just a series of these bizarre events, was this woman, maybe like 40 to 50 years old, blonde woman, looked a bit disgruntled. When she got off the tram, there were kind of people in her way, and I heard her go, "For fuck's sake," right? That kind of vibe, grumpy middle-aged-ish woman. And noticed she was holding a book. And I was like, I wonder what... She had a highlighter as well. I'm like, I wonder what book she's reading. Look at it. She's holding a book. It's a book about Scientology by L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology. It was just... And I'm like, wow, this woman is like... She's clearly like... My reading was she's clearly fed up with her life. She's had enough of all of it. So she's turning to Scientology. She's got a highlighter out and everything. She's probably like, yeah, I'm going to learn so much about like how to live my life from now on by reading L. Ron Hubbard. I don't understand Scientology. L. Ron Hubbard was like a science fiction author who started a religious movement. And it's just everything about it is weird. Like, I don't understand how someone goes, oh, Scientology seems pretty cool. How do you get to that stage of your life? Any Scientologists listening, let me know. But I don't understand how you would get into Scientology. But this woman clearly was. And she was clearly pissed off with life. I think, as humans, I just think, like, I was thinking the other day, when I was a kid, it really felt like every day, every year was just something new and exciting and different, right? And yesterday, I was in the food court at Victoria Gardens Richmond Shopping Centre, standing at the McDonald's, looking around at all these other adults waiting for the McDonald's. And I was like, life, once you become an adult, you're really just going through the motions, aren't you? Like when I was a kid, going to McDonald's because it was so out of my control. It was just like mum's just decided we're getting Maccas. Most exciting thing ever. Now I'm like, I can have Maccas whenever I want. No consequences. Right? So I think we get to a point in our lives, like this lady with the L. Ron Hubbard book, and we go, I'm missing meaning in my life. I need meaning. I'm going to Scientology. Absolutely crazy. That's what I saw on the tram. Let me know what you saw on the tram. I wanted to add, this is going to be a bit more of a talky episode because I haven't had as much time to prepare, but there'll still be a few things. I have a blunder to apologize for. I announced excitedly on last week's show that I will be attending the premiere of the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Now, this is courtesy of friend of the show, Adam Denston from Adam and Simon, the Adam and Simon show. Who was invited, gave me the ticket instead because he knew how much I wanted to go. Got a message last night from another friend of the show who listens to this show. Actually, I might have to beep his name because I don't know if he wants me to say this. So I'm going to beep this guy's name. I'll beep his name in post. Who said to me, hey, just so you know, I think the event you're going to for the Super Mario Bros. Movie isn't a premiere. It's a special screening, in inverted commas, but it's not a premiere. It's the release day of the movie, and it's at like 6 p.m. I could go to an 11 a.m. session that day and see it before this screening. So what I've realized is I am not going to the premiere of Super Mario Bros. Movie. That's how I felt about it. And the other thing is this person, whose name I will not repeat, then goes, I've actually seen the movie because they did a really special secret screening for more famous people than me that only a few people got to see. So I didn't go to the premiere, guys. In full transparency for this podcast, for you guys, the listeners, I'm not going to the premiere. People have seen the film. The film is out there. People have seen it. I assume there's like there's an embargo on reviews and stuff, but people have seen the film. Someone I know has seen the film. I was tempted to just be like, hey, can you tell me just everything that happens? I just want to know. Because my main theory is that Wario does appear in the post-credit scene. Not sure if he does, but I could find that out right now. But yeah, I'm not going to the premiere. So that's the apology for this week, guys. And I am really sorry about that. I genuinely didn't read the thing right. But I'm still going to a preview screening on opening night. It's going to be awesome, and I'm hopefully going to have a bunch of photos from there. But yeah, again, this will be a huge movie for me. Wanted to chat just a little bit, and this might be sort of the ranty kind of therapeutic part of this podcast, because I've been feeling a little bit... I don't know how I've been feeling. I've been feeling just a bit weird. Like it's time for a change, like something big needs to happen in my life. And maybe that's going back to the thing I was saying about when you're a kid, everything's exciting, everything's new. I noticed that there's this big thing happening in the United States Congress with TikTok, and they're like, the CEO of TikTok in America is having to like testify in front of US Congress. It's very, very funny, and I don't even know which way. Like, it's all about whether TikTok contains Chinese spyware, etc., etc. But like, what I'm realizing more as I get older is like, the people in power, or the people that we elect in power, or the people like in US Congress or whatever, they don't. I guess we kind of think that they are more intelligent and more, I don't know more than us and know better than us, when really, like, you just realize they're just a bunch of old people who don't understand the new ways. Like, for example, and this has gone very viral, I'm sure a lot of you have heard it, but this is one of the questions one of them asked the CEO of TikTok.
Mr. Chu, does TikTok access the home Wi-Fi network?
Only if the user turns on the Wi-Fi. I'm sorry, I may not understand the...
He literally asked, does TikTok use Wi-Fi? Like, it's so clear to me from a lot of the questions that these people are asking that they don't have any idea about how anything works in like a digital media space. And how can they? Because it's not them using it. And what I love is like that America, the Congress is like basically is making TikTok to be this big enemy, linking it with China, like, and saying that it's spyware and everything. And then what I love about the CEO of TikTok is he's so calm and composed through all of this questioning. Like, he's very prepared. He's very aware of his product and what his role is. And he like combats a lot of their questions. And I think there's a few things here. One is like decision makers in society are just like clueless. You know, I think it's really, it really says a lot about our society that we, like someone, whoever that guy is that asked, does TikTok connect to Wi-Fi? Like, he's that idiotic, embarrassing and idiotic, right? The other thing I've been thinking about is whether or not I think TikTok is overall a good thing for A, society, B, creators, C, children, all of the above. And I've been thinking a lot about this. And I think for me, the overall impact of TikTok is negative, and social media, but we know that. I'm not saying anything groundbreaking here, but I actually think that it is starting to get to this scrambling of brains, of attention span. Like, it's always been like that. It's been going that way for a very long time. It's really problematic. I think that TikTok is great for creators. Me, like any other young person, or I'm not young, anyone who just wants to create can put something up on TikTok. They can foster a TikTok audience, which is different to any other audience, but it's like, it's valid. It's a valid resource for people who want to foster an audience, right? And create content. I think that's great. But I think in some ways, what's detrimental about it is like the saturation of content, the recycling of content, the dumbing down of content, the lack of like integrity and veracity around a lot of content online. You know, even like, I think for creators, it's great. But I think generally speaking, like, all this shift to like short form vertical content is just,
absolute, it's just it's killing. I think it's long-term killing the industry, because even just, I look at all these and I think it's starting for me to, and this is where this podcast maybe gets a bit endearing or a bit too personal, but like for me, I feel as though it's causing me to, like, it's amplifying my self-doubt, my vulnerability. I'm constantly comparing myself numerically to other creators, other podcasts, and thinking things like, oh, well, like, clearly I'm not marketable enough, or I'm not funny enough, or I'm not intelligent enough, or my brand isn't streamlined enough. And then I start questioning all of the content that I'm making. And, this podcast has been going for 4.5 years now, and it's fostered a really loyal audience and a really, like, has a really solid install base of listeners, which I love. And I love doing this show. And I think for me, it's like, when I sometimes I feel like I'm losing track of why I'm doing this, because I'm like always comparing myself to other people and seeing these people who have like Spotify exclusive podcasts, and these creators that have like hundreds of thousands of followers and get hundreds of thousands of views on their stuff. And I'm just like, why aren't I growing? Like, why doesn't my stuff grow? Why doesn't my stuff resonate as hard as I want it to? And it's like, I don't know if, like, I think it's partly reality, but then I also think it's partly what social media is doing to me. And this industry is becoming more and more competitive. It's becoming more and more, I don't know, it's like very social climbing-y. It's very like creating a product to suit the mass as opposed to creating something you love and letting an audience come. And I think a lot of what this show was creating something that I wanted to talk about, the conversations you wish you were having, and then an audience came. And then I feel like I'm constantly in a battle of thinking what's going to go viral, as opposed to I'm just going to talk about what I want to talk about. And then it puts all this pressure on, and then I see other people with just more than me, and I'm like, well, I must suck. Like, it's just this cycle of thought. And then maybe I don't even put it into perspective, because sometimes people say to me like, oh, dude, like, you're on Hamish and Andy's Remembering Project. Like, you're on that podcast, and like, no one else is. And, who else has an opportunity like that? And that's an opportunity that I'm so grateful for, and I feel so privileged for. Don't get me wrong. But maybe to me, it's just been so normalized that I do that it doesn't even feel super special anymore. Not in a bad way. I love doing it, but do you know what I mean? It just feels like, oh yeah, I guess I do that. And then I look at what everyone else is doing, and I'm like, well, why can't I have that? And why can't I have this and this and this and this? Why are my followers not going up? Why am I not getting bigger? And maybe I am. I don't know. I think like all of that is amplified by TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and everything in between. And while I'm just trying to stay strong with it, I do feel like in the past few weeks, it's been getting a fair bit harder for me. And I think just finding a balance as well, because I don't know, I just feel as though maybe there's something more I'm not exploring at the moment. And I realize as well, like, a lot of my life I've put on hold for other people's expectations of me. And like, oh, I can't do this because of this, but I'm trying to maybe get into more of a mindset of like, I'm going to do this, whether that's like going overseas for like a month and just being like, I'm going overseas. I'm taking a break from work because I haven't had a holiday since 2018. I think this podcast, since day one, like the first thing you hear after my name is "This is the inside of my mind," and I think I've really needed to talk out loud about this. And sometimes I do think this podcast is therapeutic. Whether you guys enjoy that or not, I don't know. Awkward, but I think it's like I'm feeling like I'm on the verge of this new journey, and I don't know what that is. I don't know what it means, but I just feel like I'm back in a spot that I was like when I finished uni, when I was like, what the fuck am I doing? And then stuff happened. And then maybe I'm there again now. And maybe it is time like for an adventure. Like I've always wanted to go overseas, bring a microphone, do my podcast from different hotels and Airbnbs. Like all of that stuff to me is just really scary because it's like taking such a big leap out of my comfort zone, taking such a big step out of what I'm used to, which is just like doing the same thing every week, just doing it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Just like no change, no flexibility. Like, well, sorry, that's the wrong word, but no change. I'm very routine. I'm very creature comfort. I'm very homebody. So the idea of just like, I'm going to do something completely different that has nothing to do with work and career, which has been my whole life since I was 21, it's just been radio and podcasting and going to work and trying to like impress people in the industry. And now it kind of feels like I'm not fighting for that approval anymore. Like I've finally reached this point within me where I'm like, I'm actually really comfortable with me and who I am. Whereas when I started, and even if you go back and listen to this podcast from the start, you'll feel that, I think, and you'll see that development of me as this kid who just wanted to be good and wanted to get opportunities and wanted to grow and wanted people to like me. And now I'm just kind of like, no, I'm me. This is what I'm doing. Maybe I don't yearn for that approval anymore because I've found something in myself that wasn't there anymore. A lot of this is just very rambly, but again, this podcast is the inside of my mind and this is what's inside my mind this week. I realize this isn't necessarily the fun, hard-hitting content that maybe you come to this podcast for, but that's just how I'm feeling this week. It's feeling very, very cluttered in there. And just thinking of what feels different and what maybe feels like it's missing and what is next for me. Because I think with everything, you get to a point where it's like, it's just make or break. Like you've got to change something, and maybe that is travel for me and being like, work is done for a month, for 2 months. Or maybe it's just being like, all that's done, I'm doing something completely new. Or maybe probably not any of my content, my personal stuff, but just more work. Like feeling like I need to be something for someone and having this undying loyalty and all of that. It's just all rushing through my mind. I don't know if people really enjoyed that, but I guess like that's sort of what I wanted to talk about this week. I do have a couple more things that I want to talk about, but it might just be a shorter ep because I feel like it's a weird tone shift to go from what I was just talking about to what I'm about to talk about, but I'm going to do it anyway. Okay, maybe we should, I don't know, maybe I should just play something to just sort of get into to just sort of bridge together those two, like bridge together that really serious chat with, what's something I can play here? I can play. I'll play this.
On the road to Marine City. On the road to Marine City.
There you go. That'll bridge the gap. Okay. Fuck. Fucking hell. Hey, I wanted to talk about a TV show, right? Because I think it's the best TV show on television right now, but not enough people are talking about it. How I Met Your Father is the best TV show on television right now. Of course, if you're unfamiliar, it is the spin-off of How I Met Your Mother. How I Met Your Father, starring Hilary Duff, the favorite actress of the show, for multiple reasons, not just because she is stunning, but also she's just amazing. How I Met Your Father is in my opinion, the best show on TV at the moment.
We all want to meet the love of our life, but the world is not that simple anymore.
We're not a couple anymore. Can you guys really just turn it off like that? Your dynamic is incredibly sensual.
What I love about it so much is, I mean, and I love How I Met Your Mother. It's probably my favorite sitcom. But I think How I Met Your Mother was definitely set. I mean, when the show started in 2005, I was like 10 years old, and the main character Ted was 27 or 28 in that, which is where I am now. And I watched it when I was a teenager. Now, How I Met Your Father, Hilary Duff's character is 30, and it's very much based in today's day and age. Like, they're on dating apps, they're talking about modern dating, they're talking about modern things that like, and pop culture references as well that are more millennial and more my age. So it's almost like How I Met Your Mother, which I think is such a fantastic show, but it's like modernized and like specifically for me and our age group. It is such a funny show, so many laugh out loud moments, and I want more people to watch it because no one wants to talk about it with me. I actually love it. I genuinely think it is just one of the strongest shows on TV that I've seen in the world. One of the best sitcoms. And I think it also addresses a lot of the issues, I mean, in inverted commas, issues with the original. Like, it's very diverse in its casting. There are a lot of it's very diverse in its casting, and also some of the characters from the original series come back and you kind of get follow-ups on their stories or little bits and pieces from their stories that, fill you in if you're a fan of the original, as well as just other Easter eggs to the original, but it doesn't lean on those characters. Like, it is its own thing. It's just got Easter eggs, and then every season, like, a different legacy character kind of pops up and gives Hilary Duff advice that kind of echoes their experience on from the original show. It's just like incredible. Every week I like look forward to it coming out, and I think it's so well written. It's genuinely so funny. The characters are super funny. All of the acting is amazing, and this like that classic How I Met Your Mother structure with like the overarching narrator that's, Hilary Duff's future self or Ted's future self. That like the cutaway gags, like the back references, the continuity, just all of that kind of the wit and the humor of the original. I think the original director has directed a few episodes. It's just a feel good show as well. And it kind of just, being someone coming up to 30 as well, it just kind of speaks wonders about where people's lives are at different points, and like not having to, and I've talked about it on this pod before, not having to just go through the motions of what's expected of you in life. Like, I think a lot of us get this idea, or at least I did when I was a kid, that like there's a way that you do life. There's like an order that things should happen, and there's, an order of what age you do this and what age you get married and what age you have kids, and like it's just expected that you're doing all of that, when really it's like all of it is your choice. And I think watching this show, and even How I Met Your Mother, but maybe this one's resonating more because it's like set in the now and it's my characters of my age, you just realize that all of these things that happen are real life things. All of these things that happen in the show are like real life things that happen with real people. And it feels really relatable, and it feels very, I don't know, it just feels, to me, it's just probably the most relatable show I've ever seen. Every time I watch it, I'm like, yep, I know this exact experience. Super relatable. They've captured it really well. They've written it really well. And yeah, they just finished the mid-season finale of season 2, and I think there's another 12 episodes later in the year, and I love it. I hope they do 10 seasons of this, or 9 seasons of this, the way they did 9 seasons of How I Met Your Mother. It's just amazing. And more crossovers, please. Like, if they could have Ted Mosby in it, if they could have Marshall and Lily pop up, I would absolutely love all of that. The final thing I wanted to talk about is, I watched this movie. I watched this movie last night. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of it and or seen it. Considered one of the best movies ever made in the history of cinema. Very old movie as well. Watch this movie called 12 Angry Men. And if you're not familiar with 12 Angry Men, it's a very interesting film. I mean, I think it's from the 50s, and it is considered one of the best movies ever made. It's basically, the whole premise of the film is it's all set in one room, a jury room, and there's 12 jurors discussing the verdict, guilty or not verdict, of a murder crime a murder case a murder trial that they've just witnessed. And you know how sometimes people are like, this insert old thing here is the best XYZ ever. This is the best movie ever. This is the best show ever. This is the best album ever. And then you go and check it out and you're kind of like, oh yeah, I get why that would have been good at the time, but I don't think it's that good now. Kind of thought I might have that with this, but genuinely felt like I think this movie deserves all the acclaim it gets. If you haven't seen it, it's 90-minute movie, which is our classic length of movie that we love here on this show, 90 minutes max. But just I don't think I've ever been sucked into a film more. So simplistic, right? So simplistic. It essentially is all happening in real time in this jury room. The whole movie takes place in the jury room except for maybe 2 minutes at the start and end. And it's just 12 men discussing whether someone is guilty or not guilty, and all of the complexities around their personalities and their egos that are leading them to make that decision. And I've never seen a movie quite like it. And I'm disappointed that I left it for so long to watch it, because it was just so engaging and just so interesting how, as they're discussing the case and the trial, their own sort of biases and opinions and personality traits and quirks and values start to come into question. And they all start to realize that things on face value aren't what they seem. And if you've seen the film, you'll know all these bits that I'm talking about. Really incredible movie. Essentially a bottle episode. They call that in TV a bottle episode, where the whole thing takes place in one sort of location. It doesn't change. For example, one of the most iconic bottle episodes of a TV show is the Seinfeld episode, The Chinese Restaurant, where the entire episode is just them standing in a Chinese restaurant waiting to get seated before going to the movies. Or even the other one is The Parking Garage, where the whole episode is them just walking around a car park of a shopping center trying to find where they parked. Great episodes. There's also one in Breaking Bad, I think it's called The Fly, where the whole episode is set in the underground meth lab and they're trying to find one fly in the meth lab who might be contaminating the supply. They're really great. If they're done well, they're really great. So if there's any others that spring to mind, let me know. But it was just the way it was shot, everything about it. And old films are so interesting. It's a black and white film. It's certainly a product of its time. The fact that it was just 12 men on the jury. Back then, the women wouldn't be on a jury, which is ridiculous. But also, they're 12 white men, which definitely fits into the narrative. I'm probably doing everyone's year 10 essay on 12 Angry Men right now. But the fact that they're all white men, the person on trial is Hispanic, and their biases of that, all of them pretty much start with a guilty, just being yeah, he's guilty, let's get out of here. Not really caring about or having compassion for the fact that if he's guilty, he gets the death sentence. And only one of them goes, no, he's, I think, not guilty and I want to talk about it. And that just starts the whole movie, in real time, just watching it unfold. Essentially like a play, a big, and I think it was based on a, I don't know, a radio drama or something, but just fantastic in every single way. Such distinguishable characters, all, again, all in black and white. I feel old black and white movies always have this fuzzy sound in the background, just capturing the noise of the room. that really feels like an old movie thing. But even just like halfway through, it starts storming and raining, and there's a whole change of like pace and tone because of that. And there's like this clock ticking in the background. All this stuff they do in this movie that just kind of helps you feel like the pressure and the tension of the room. Amazing. Loved it. One thing I did notice, speaking of Seinfeld, is there's one guy in the movie. I wonder if anyone's picked this up. There's one guy in this movie who wears a fedora, like an older gentleman. And I genuinely think I would actually, like, I mean, maybe I'm just clutching straws here, but I genuinely think you might need to watch it. But the way this guy speaks and the mannerisms of this guy and his general, like, vibe throughout the entire movie, I genuinely believe that Jason Alexander, who played George Costanza, might have like been inspired by this character. The whole time I was watching, I'm just like, it's just George Costanza 0.0. Like, it's like the precursor to George, the more tame George Costanza. Listen to him just speak. If you've seen Seinfeld, I reckon you'll pick up George vibes.
What are you basing it on? Stories this guy made up? You ought to write for one of those kooky detective magazines. You'd make a fortune. For crying out loud, your kid's own lawyer knew he didn't stand a chance. Well, who the heck could? That maybe some guy's mother is somebody. Oh, look, will you look at the time? Huh? Come on.
That is George. I'm sorry, that is just George. To me, that's like tame George. And then here's George in Seinfeld.
Every time I go to the bathroom, I pass her desk. I have to plan little patter. I spend half my day writing. Then afterwards, I sit in my office and analyze how it went. If it was a good conversation, I don't go to the bathroom for the rest of the day.
Okay. I just thought that character was exactly... I could not get it out of my head that it was George Costanza from Seinfeld 0.0. If you've seen 12 Angry Men, like, what do you reckon is the best movie of all time? Because that one commonly comes up as best movie of all time. Write it in, and I'll put it on the Spotify reaction thing, so you can respond to things on Spotify locally in the episode. So a bunch of people have done it already. Right there. What's the best movie of all time? Like, I genuinely thought this was a fantastic movie. And then also, what did you think? What did you think of this movie? Because I know surely a lot of people had to do it in like year 10 English or something. I didn't, so I've never seen it. But yeah, I mean, can totally see why this movie is so culturally significant. All right. I realized this tonally was a bit of a different episode, so next week I promise will be a fun to the max episode, but let's just finish with this. The plug! I pop up on this week's episode of Hamish and Andy's podcast. If you want to listen to that, that's out now. And I also, if you want to be following Mike's bigger year of footy, which I believe we do have an opener for on this board somewhere. I might not be able to find it right now, but if you do want to follow Mike's bigger year of footy, head on over to the Two Guys One Cup podcast over on the Listener app, where I every week do a little segment there. Of course, I'm on 3AW at 2:30 p.m. every Wednesday, talking movies and TV in a segment called The Showdown. There is a playlist on Spotify with all of my segments there, if you would like to listen, for the full one. For all the completionists who want the 100% Radio Mike content. That's basically it. I thank you for listening to me rant this week. Would love any feedback from you guys, but yeah, generally speaking, there's just this weird cloud in my head at the moment. There's just this weird cloud. Don't know what it is. Still working through it. This helps. I hope you're well. Catch Harry Potter and the Boys every Tuesday. Final season finale on Tuesday. The last chapter of book 2 of my Harry Potter fanfiction series. And the Pat and Mike show this Friday over on Patreon. Patreon.com/Radio Mike. I guess I'll just spend 2 minutes here imploring you to jump on board the Patreon. Again, I'm an independent podcaster. I don't have a big company behind me cutting clips for me and doing PR and marketing for me. I have none of that. Again, I think that's part of some of the feelings I have of all these other shows and everything that has all of that. But yeah, I would love for you to support me on Patreon. If you listen every week and you enjoy the show, it would genuinely mean the world if you jump on the Patreon and support me. Check out the YouTube channel, watch catch up on clips there, TikTok and Instagram as well. Thanks so much, guys, for listening. My name's been Radio Mike. Final thing. We will be debuting the new theme music to the show very, very soon. New theme music is coming because I can't keep using a copyrighted track. So I actually have I commissioned a film and TV music composer based in Chile to make new theme music for this show. I love it. It is really good. There is a lot of deep layered thinking behind the new music. It's a bit different to what it is now, but there will be a new theme to the podcast soon. That's about it, guys. My name's Radio Mike. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you later. This podcast was a Radio Mike original production. Head to radiomike.com.au to check out all our other content, stay up to date at radio.mike on Instagram, and get in touch, radiomikepod@gmail.com.